This is a TalkStation original podcast.
On this week's episode of the Paperboys podcast, JJ and I interview girls wrestlers from all three high schools, Ella Busby from East Carteret, Kaylum Mills from Croatan, and Kenley Riley from West Carteret. We talk about the impact wrestling has had on their lives, the stereotypes they battle with their peers, and the goals they have within their sport. It all starts right now on the Paperboys podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Paperboys podcast. I'm JJ Smith.
And I'm Zack Nally.
We're reporters with the Carteret County News-Times. This week we are joined by the newest sanctioned sport of the North Carolina High School Athletic Association, girls wrestling. We're joined by Kaylum Mills of Croatan, Kenley Riley of West Carteret, and Ella Busby of East Carteret. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
So the first thing, obviously, that everybody wants to know is how does girls get into wrestling? So Kaylum, we'll just start with you. How did you get into wrestling?
I was taking a weight training class, and I'm not sure if you know Angelica Steffi, but I was taking the class with her, and she begged me for like a year. I refused to do it at first just because like the stereotypical norms, and one day I was like, fine, I'll go to practice. And I've played like a ton of sports my entire life, and I was like, man, I'm not too terrible at this. And then my coaches would never let me leave, so I've been stuck there the whole time.
Once they get you.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long ago was this?
That was last year when I was a junior.
Okay. All right, Kenley, how about you?
This is the question I get asked all the time, and when I tell you in 7 years, I don't think I've quite come up with an answer. What I can say is growing up, I was not an athletic child whatsoever. And I did swimming, and I did ballet and cheerleading and gymnastics, you know, the stereotypical girl sports that your mom puts you in. But I was just looking. I had a lot of self-confidence issues and low self-esteem. And for some reason, I decided, and I believe that it was just God's plan, to go to wrestling tryouts. And slowly, I just saw the progression in my confidence and saw myself making improvements, not only physically, but mentally. And I just fell in love with that chase for physical and emotional growth and personal growth. And I was horrible my first season. I think I lost every single match. Really was not good, but I stuck with it, and it gave me something to work towards, and it helped me set goals, and I just fell in love with it.
And how long ago was that?
That was 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, that was 6th grade.
Is that Moorhead Middle? Or?
That was Moorhead Middle, yep.
Wow.
Yep, Coach Crimp, he is now the high school coach at New Bern High School.
Okay.
He was actually my first wrestling coach, so it's kind of cool.
All right, Ella, how did you get into it?
So my dad is in the Marine Corps, and we got stationed over in Okinawa. In Okinawa, over there, wrestling's a really big sport.
Okay.
And like Kaylum was saying, I suck at sports. Like every other sport, I'm not. It's not my thing. Like soccer ball, I pick flowers and eat dirt. And my brothers were doing it, and my dad's like, "You're gonna do this too," and I was like, "Okay." And then I did it, and then my coach at the Okinawa team was like, "You're not bad at all," and I was like, "Okay." So then I just stuck with it, and then when I moved over here back to the States, I found Mr. Smith, my wrestling coach, and he was like, "What weight class are you at?" And I was like, 165, because that's what I was freshman year. And he put me in, and I've just been there ever since.
It's funny, every one of you almost mentioned about confidence, and we'll just go right back in the same order. Start with Kaylum. What kind of confidence has this sport given you?
Oh man, I really try and I don't like to have too much confidence in it, because you never want to seem like that arrogant person or too cocky, but
just being physically fit, being a part of the team. I'm
really big on exercise. I work out a lot, so I think it has really helped me just stay active. And I think it's I'm really proud in the fact that I could go out there and, I don't know, as mean as it sounds, just dominate someone else.
Sure, absolutely. That's part of the incentive.
How about you, Kenley?
So for me, it's maybe a little bit different. I don't necessarily find the confidence in either knowing that I can run 3 miles in 22 minutes, or I can lift this amount of weight, or win a match. For me, I know what I've pushed my body to, and I know the mental strength I have. And so that gives me the confidence. That I know that I can walk in a room full of people, and I know how strong I am. And that gives me the comfort and the confidence, to go do those things, because I've pushed my body extremely hard, and I have an amazing coach. His name is Coach Eric Michael Frazier. He's a Paralympic athlete. He has really taught me a lot on mental strength, and I think my mental strength is something that you see in my wrestling, but you also see in every other aspect of my life, and that's what gives me the confidence.
How about you, Ella?
I just like to see the payoff. You know, you see how much you go through. You just watch yourself grow, both physically and as a person. Like, it's probably taught me so many things about, like, myself that I didn't know or didn't realize or I didn't know I could do.
Yeah.
And just being able to go out there and show yourself, not like other people, but just show yourself what you've learned and what you've done. It's just really rewarding.
Well, and you brought it up too. I think the idea that I've always liked about wrestling more than any other sport, you know, because in a lot of sports, there's measurable things you can get better at, and that's not to say that wrestling doesn't have that. You certainly have wins and losses. You can learn certain techniques, but you mentioned the ability to push yourself to a certain level and then push beyond that. Yeah. I've always really enjoyed how wrestlers kind of embrace that. The idea that you can always go a little harder, a little bit more, and you find that in yourself. And because truly, wrestling is one of the only like physical one-on-one sports that I can think of where you're just dependent upon yourself. Like
that tennis,
tennis and golf, but it's nothing physical really in terms of like one-on-one. And when you're out there, it's just you, and you have to push past your own limits in order to get the job done.
Nobody to pass the ball to out there, right?
No.
Exactly.
No tagging in.
That's right. And just the confidence alone, I would imagine you gotten a big boost just from the fact that you did it, that you joined the team, that you put the uniform on, you stepped out on the mat the first. What was it like? Ella, we'll start with you. The first time you walked out on the mat.
Well, I was really scared because I didn't know anyone because I'd moved over here, and I'm not very social, so I didn't know anyone on the team. It was my freshman year, and it was really scary. But there was another girl. She's since graduated. It was her first year. She was a senior, and she helped me a lot. And I had already had some previous experience, so I was able to.
Did you wrestle a girl the first time or a boy the first time?
Like in my match or on my team.
Your first match?
It was a boy.
Okay.
And I lost.
Is that going to be? Is that everybody? A boy the first time?
Yeah.
Oh.
My first
Kaylum?
match, it was like, because my junior year last year was like the first year that it actually started getting big.
Sure.
And so my first match was actually against Reagan Riddick, who I think placed third this past year at States. And she threw me. Oh my gosh. My lip was busted. I was bleeding on the mat, and I was so mad. And then I didn't lose again that day because I was so mad. I was like, that's not going to happen again.
Kind of jarred you a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, this is for real.
She knew what she was doing. Yeah.
How about you, Kenley?
So mine, I was the only girl on the team at the time in 6th grade. And when I tell you my first match was against this boy, we were at this tournament. It was like freshman, sophomore JV, and and in middle school combined. Ooh. And I think my match lasted 5 seconds, and that's not an exaggeration. When I tell you this man, I hadn't.
This man.
Not a boy.
This is not a boy. I look back at the video, and I'm still convinced that this is a man.
I saw him walk
was
out
like
and said,
6 feet tall. My mom still to this day just tells me the shiver she had. And whenever I get a little too cocky about my wrestling, she shows me the video. She's like, "You need to be humble because this is what happened in your first match."
He's waiting for you somewhere.
He just towers over me, and I don't even remember what happened, but I go from my feet to my back, and it's over with in quite literally 5 seconds. And I think the second match didn't last much longer. I think it was 10 seconds. Wow. And I didn't even know what to do, so that's okay.
And later you saw him in the parking lot, get in a car and drive away.
Yeah,
right?
when I tell you again, that first year, I didn't win a single match. I mean,
wow. What was the record?
It was like probably I had a varsity spot for middle school because there was no other boys in my weight class, so I think we probably had about 15 matches, and it was 0-15.
I just you mentioned how you got rocked your first match and then you came back and you won. I just find it so fascinating that when you lose that many matches that you still have the will to come back and keep. What made you want to come back?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. You know, I was unathletic, and I didn't have much of drive to be athletic other than, like, a lack of self-confidence in my appearance and in my physical capabilities. I saw progress. You know,
You still saw.
I still saw progress. So I was going from getting pinned to 5 seconds to being able to make it to the third period.
Gotcha.
And I began to see, I'm slimming down. I'm able to run miles. Okay, I can run half a mile now. I'm running a mile. I began to see that progress, and it almost became addicting. Like, I remember I left that season, and I genuinely wanted to continue to work out for the first time. Began running on my own and stuff like that. By 7th grade season, I almost went undefeated. So that, even though I lost every match, it gave me a taste of what my capability could be.
Right.
And it pushed me to continue this search of personal growth and becoming fit and whatever, building my mental strength, building my confidence. And then it paid off, because in 7th and 8th grade, I had a great middle school season, and I've been pretty successful in high school. So,
How about you, Kaylum? What was your record? Year one.
I think I went like 22-11 or something.
Oh,
like
wow.
Okay.
that. Yeah, I went to States as a first year.
Oh, wow.
And like, I was determined. I was like, I'm gonna get good at this, because my first tournament I placed second, and I was like, this is cool. Like, I like winning.
Oh, wow.
And that's kind of been the whole.
Well, it's nice to have a state champion teammate.
Having a 2-time state champ definitely was the reason that I got.
She was a beast.
Beat me up every day I owe like every bit of it to her, because that is 100%.
Best thing that ever happened to you was get beat up every day by Angelica.
Yes, I still do. I wrestled her today at practice, and I'm telling you, she hit a double on me, and like my hips flew out from underneath her, because she's like, I think she's like 138.
Yeah.
I'm 114. So she's got some size on me, but she is so good. She's a college wrestler now. So
Right.
it definitely helped me so much.
How about you, Ella? Do you remember what your record was?
My middle school, it didn't have any sports, so I had to do a rec team. So I don't actually know what my record was, but I know my middle school record.
Okay.
Not my middle school record, sorry, my high school record. It was, I think these were only forfeits. It was 6 and 8, and that was just varsity. It didn't count exhibition.
Yeah.
And then I did make it into states my freshman year, but then my first match, there's a video of me breaking my collarbone.
Right.
And then I wrestled again, and I won that match.
Oh, wow.
But then I tore my bicep in the process.
Oh, my
So,
Gosh, yeah.
and then that pretty much.
I don't have any cool stories like that.
I'm Ryan Kelly,
I'm Lynn Schultz.
and we're the hosts of the Senior Moment podcast.
Each week, we bring you conversations with experts right here in our community about the common and uncommon challenges facing our aging population and caregivers.
We discuss the challenges of caring for a loved one with dementia, as well as the importance of health planning, family history, and much more.
Join us every week for Senior Moment, streaming now on Spotify, YouTube, and at CarolinaCoastOnline.com.
Hey y'all, this is Carson Gray, and y'all are listening to the Paper Boys podcast.
That's the one story I've always wanted to do. I'm never going to get to do is what Kenley was talking about. She went over 21. I've always wanted to do the freshman and sophomore, talk to them like, how did you keep going out there? What kept you? But that's a tough story to do because
The psychology of losing.
not many people are volunteering to do a story on when they went over 21, right, Kenley? You were like, could I please talk to the newspaper about this awful season I've just had? You probably weren't doing that, were you?
What's that?
Begging to talk to the newspaper about your 0 and 21
not.
season.
No.
That story's never going to happen.
That was
but
not great.
but I do have so much respect for the kids who freshman year, sophomore year, they're just, and you watch them, they go out there and you're like, they know they have no chance. They're just going to get taken steamrolled and go out there, Matt. And then the last match of the season, they're still out there. I'm like, what was it that? Was there any point? We'll start with you, Ella. Was there any point during that first year where you're like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is ridiculous.
Probably. I don't think I ever knew I was gonna quit. I did have some moments where I'm like, why am I here? Because I think I went. It was our other 145 wasn't there, and so my coach was like, "You're up," and it was against like a 3-time state champion, and he was like just pure muscle, and I was like, "This ain't gonna end well." But I still went out there, and I think I made it 30 seconds into the first match, but I was shooting for 5 seconds. So
How about you, kid? That 0 and 21 year, was there any point you're like, that's enough of that?
That was 6th grade, so I'm trying to think way back
Long
to
time
middle
ago.
school. I think Man, I don't know. I just stuck with it. I had fun with it. I was not good at anything that included a ball. So, you know what? I found a sport that I could somewhat do, and it didn't have a ball. So I think I don't know. I just stuck with it, and I'm glad I did.
Well, Miss Kaylum, 22 and 11, no, you were just killing people, so you weren't worried about quitting.
Said, this is great.
Throughout the entire season, I was all about it, but a big concern was that my wrestling partner was going to graduate, the only other girl on the team.
Oh.
And so my coaches were really worried that I wasn't going to come back this year. They're like, did you love it enough? And I also was kind of worried. I wasn't really sure if it was something I wanted to continue, because I really like to work out and it affects your gym progress and all that. But I figured I shouldn't throw away a chance, because I got a good chance at states this year. Even just placing, I probably won't do more than that because I'm realistic. But
well, and there's going to be a regionals now, right?
We had regionals last year, but
did you? Okay.
I just figured it'd be too much of a waste of an opportunity just to give up like that.
Well, you mentioned that you and Angelica last year, and last year was the first year I think I did a story on Swansboro, because they had their girls only tournament that he did during Christmas.
Yeah,
I think isn't that coming up?
It was Monday.
Okay, it was Monday. Did you all compete in that? Or?
I did not. We had WRAL.
Okay.
Yeah, we had WRAL, and then it overlapped with our exam schedule, unfortunately. Okay.
Well, and I feel for him, because the coach over there, Goronski, the reason he made that is because he really wanted to do a boys and girls tournament when they have their, I think it's called the Dirty Bird or something like that, which is weird because they're pirates. I don't understand. Anyway, regardless, and but
pirates have parrots.
There you go. Make it something like that. But they have to start it at a certain time because of the way school works.
Yeah.
And there's not enough time to do both. And so he did the anyway. So I talked to Chase over at Havelock and them at Swansboro, and a lot of schools. You all were adding some players to the roster. I think you all had how many last year?
I have no idea.
Okay, it was at least a few, and I remember Croatan being the smaller number.
Yeah, we started with 4.
Okay.
But actually we probably started with 6, but I'm telling you, first practice, 3 of them got
sure, they were
broken
no,
collarbones, one blew their ACL.
Oh my gosh.
There was another one who ended up just dropping off the face of the earth. I swear we have no idea.
Well, she saw those two and said,
she doesn't even go to our school anymore. She just disappeared.
She just transferred.
Okay.
Yeah, and then there was 2.
Do that practice? Oh my gosh!
She went into the forest.
It was Angelica that broke the one girl's collarbone, and we were just
oh man,
I'm sorry.
Well, so coming into this season, I was wondering, now that it was a fully sanctioned sport,
right?
It had been growing.
First
what was it going to be like? And thought maybe there wouldn't be anybody there, or maybe 1 or 2 people there. And then you went to practice, and you said there were.
Croatan was loaded.
Oh my God, yeah.
You've got how many girls on the team this year?
Okay, so we have every single weight class and 2 extra.
Wow.
Actually, we don't have a 100-pounder. We used to, but she
still
quit.
though.
Yeah.
You've got
it's like a dozen, right?
Oh yeah, we got probably 13, 14.
How many is that West this year?
We have a mighty 4. Before anybody says anything, instead of saying that we have 4, I like to say that we grew 400%, because it went from 1, which was me, and I did not.
Oh, was it just you last year?
It was just me. My entire high school career has just been me.
Okay,
My
so
entire
I'm
wrestling career,
just
all 6
remembering.
years, it's only ever been me.
Wow.
And so even in middle school, we had some girls come in and out, and in high school, we'd have some girls come in and out.
But never stayed.
But
Yeah.
they've never stayed longer than maybe 2 weeks. And so, but this year, we did a lot with the middle school and got some girls in 8th grade and got them in the room in middle school, which is a little easier, a little slower paced, a little less conditioning, some of that type of stuff, so they could fall in love with the sport and then carry on over to high school. So we have 4, and I'm definitely excited to see where the sport at West grows. Unfortunately, with me leaving, it was just important for me to be able to leave behind something. Sure. And so that's really what I've put a lot of effort in the past year and a half, is just getting that team together. We're small, but we have a lot of heart. I tell everybody we have a lot of heart, we have a lot of drive, and a lot of dedication, and it's going to grow just because of the culture that we formed on the team already.
How about at East Ella? What kind of growth have you seen over there?
We're a mighty 3.
Oh my gosh, you beat!
But so the 2 other girls, they're first years. I convinced one of the girls, she was on my tennis team, and I begged her to join, and she stuck with it, and she's improved a lot. And then the other girl, she's a freshman, and it's her first year doing it as well. And then what Kenley was saying about our middle school program, there's 8 girls, eighth grade girls. I think
awesome.
I could be wrong. I think it's 8, give or take. And they're all in 8th grade. And the Mr. Smith and Coach Nick, he's the coach for the middle school team. They do really well incorporating the middle school kids, like watching the high school practice to help them, like what she was saying, fall in love with the sport and want to do it when they get to high school. So fingers crossed, there'll be more girls at our school next year. And yeah.
How the tennis teammate you recruited, how many other girls have you tried to recruit over the years?
A lot. Can't say I was successful, but I try. And I even got my younger brother. He's in 8th grade. I got my younger brother off on it.
How about you, Keely? Have you been recruiting in the hallways over the years?
All the time.
Yeah.
24/7 wrestling. Seems like one of the only things I talk about.
You're a wrestling evangelist.
It really hasn't done much more.
You haven't found many converts, have you?
I think I need to work on my popularity or something. Like I need to get the social status a little higher. Maybe connect with the cheerleaders or something.
How about you, Kaylum? You been in the hallways recruiting?
No.
No.
Okay. But the girls' head coach is a history teacher for freshmen, so he has been hardcore recruiting. So I guess that's our team right now is a ton of freshmen. I think there's only 2 upperclassmen, but I guess it's also a good thing because they're starting out as freshmen, so they'll have a lot of time to grow and get better. So
you didn't need to do any recruiting.
Yeah, I didn't need to. He did all the work and he did phenomenal.
Who was that?
Jody Armenta.
Okay.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, you mentioned it's Coach Brazelton, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. He was actually in here today.
Oh, nice.
I think he wrestled and played football for East
he's-
Carteret.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's an energetic guy. I'm not surprised that he probably out there recruiting. And then I think Newport Middle has their own girls wrestling team.
I helped actually last year. I went and did a little intro show during their PE class.
Yeah.
Got to show off some moves, and I remember, just the girls flocked to it. I think part of it was them seeing a girl throw around a guy on the mat in their PE class, and the other is just having a girl representation. For me, it's really important to be that representation, just because I feel like definitely growing up in the sport, I didn't see any females.
I mean, you've been on your own for almost the entire time.
Yes. And I got to talk with the coach there, and we did some collaboration, and it's really grown there. And I got a lot of the girls that are on the Newport Middle School team to come to West's Bull Sharks Wrestling Club. So I've gotten to see that side really grow. Hoping to grow it on the Moritz Middle School side, but yeah.
For sure.
All right, so you start wrestling, and we'll start with you, Kaylum. What was the reaction from family, friends, classmates?
There was definitely some people from school who they were kind of judgmental about it because it's a man's sport typically. But my dad was a wrestler in high school.
Oh, wow.
He wrestled for Croatan, and his dad wrestled, and my dad, my biological dad, he's a Marine. So there's always been a lot of athleticism in my family. So they were all for it. They are the most supportive, and I definitely wouldn't be able to do it without them.
Student body, though, there's some judgment there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's another thing we, at Croatan, we struggled with at first because people were judgmental of Angelica, and she was a 2-time state champ. So,
oh, wow.
I mean, if people are hating on her, the pressure is real. So, definitely,
Sure.
That's another reason, I try really hard because, you got to prove people wrong.
Yeah.
So.
How about you, Kenley? What was the reaction from family, friends, classmates?
Goodness. My family was shocked. I mean, especially my mom. I was by no means anything other than a stereotypical girly girl. I mean, it was hot pink, glitter, diamonds, like I said, ballet, cheerleading, gymnastics, the whole shebang. And so to come out and say that I wanted to wrestle was like, what? Okay. And then the big thing was none of my family had wrestled, and we didn't really have any big athletes in my family. So the combat aspect of wrestling really concerned them. But I think they began to see the positive impact it was having on my life, and it gave me just that motivation. And so they were definitely not shy to help and support me. And overall, as far as socially and throughout the school and stuff, I definitely remember in middle school I had a few, I don't really want to call them bullies, but critiques and critics, and I feel like bully is a strong word towards it. And it carries on to high school. But everybody's going to find something to say bad about someone, or they're going to find something to complain about. So who cares? Who cares what they think? I'm out there winning gold, and it's helping me in life, and it's giving me passion. And so I hope that they can find something that gives them passion.
Definitely. Ella, what was the reaction from family and friends, classmates?
My dad was definitely all for it. He was like,
Right, he told you were going to do it.
Yeah, he was the one that was wanting me to do it. And then my mom was like, Ella, you're way too accident prone for that. And then probably from classmates, I when I tell people, I'm like, oh, they're like, what sport do you do? I'm like, oh yeah, I wrestle. They're like, and they look me up and down. They're like, are you sure? And it's like, yes, I do.
That's so real.
And then I like to prove them wrong that I am somewhat athletic.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting, like, to have part of that sport be that you are kind of combating the norm, right?
Yeah,
like, that's got to be a big role.
On like I post a lot on like my social media about wrestling, and there is a lot of people who like respond to it, and they like girls, they like support me, and like I think that's like really inspirational too, because there's a lot of people who are willing to like step out of the norm and like support other people too.
I'm Pastor Carl Zarowski.
I'm Pastor Brian Lassiter.
And I'm Pastor Bill Clear. Right now, more than ever, faith matters.
Every Sunday here on the radio, a few local pastors discuss faith in the news and how it relates to you.
We explore local, state, and national issues through the lens of faith.
We look at the role of Christians in our world and ask, should the faithful be doing more?
Join us Sunday mornings at 8 for Faith Matters, only on the Talk Station.
Hi, I'm Blake Dodge, and you're listening to the Paper Boys podcast.
Everybody has their own individual story, and Ella, we'll start with yours. Yours is different, and everyone's is different. Yours is you had to deal with a major injury in high school.
Yeah.
Was it freshman year?
It was my freshman year, but then I didn't get surgery till February of my sophomore year.
Wow.
So that's why I was out the entire season.
So tell us what happened.
I went to women's states, and my first match, I'd beaten this girl before, and maybe she had some beef against me, I don't know, but she slammed me, and on the video you can watch my collarbone bend. But I was like, and then my coach was like, do you want to quit? And I said no. And then I went on to my second match, and I won that one. Probably
with a broken collarbone.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I lost my second one because she was watching my other matches and she really went for the shoulder. But then I ended up tearing my bicep and then tore my labrum and broke my collarbone.
Wow.
Jeez. Had to get surgeries and all this stuff?
Yeah, I had to get a bicep tendinosis, and then they had to scrape out all the scar tissue and repair my labrum.
What was that like? Rehab, I'm sure. Fun, lots of fun.
I was in physical therapy for 6 months, and yeah.
How much did you miss wrestling during that period? And
I ended up managing.
That you missed it?
So I didn't think I knew I'd miss it. I just didn't realize the extent I would miss it. Like I was itching.
Wow.
Like I wanted to go out there so bad, and I think it's a big thing why I came out here this season. I've put, in my opinion, I've put so much more work than I think I would have if I didn't have that injury. Because it made me realize how much I love the sport and how much I want to continue.
Was this last year?
This was last year.
Okay. So you're a junior now.
Yes.
Okay.
One of those didn't know what you had till it was gone kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Even the last this previous Saturday, East Carteret, we held our tournament, and there was no there was only girls for exhibition matches, and I had to do the books, and I was itching. I was like, guys, put me out there, please, put me out there.
How long do you have to wait?
For what?
Sorry. You are wrestling. Okay, I see. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I'm wrestling this season.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, sorry.
Exhibition matches.
Excuse me.
No, it was my fault.
And Kenley, you've been to state 3 times, what, 3rd, 4th, and 3rd?
Yes.
So your story is you are striving for that gold.
I am chasing that goal. I have just been on that grind. Last year, not getting first was an extreme humbling experience for me, especially after winning regionals and beating our champion. So,
who was that?
Natalie Titus. And so that just put a burn under me. I remember it was actually the day after states, and I told my parents, we have got to go home because I have to make a 3-hour men's practice. I have to practice. And I knew I wasn't going to compete for another 2 months at nationals, but I did not care because I just I was not satisfied with my performance whatsoever. And so quite literally, it was maybe less than 24 hours after states, and I was already training for next season.
Wow.
And I have not slowed down one bit since. And I actually had a college coach, college I'm being recruited to. She texted me the other day. I love it because she texts me really good in-depth questions. And she asks, what do you do in the midst of the season when maybe you're starting to feel burnout or you're losing motivation? I said, I don't lose motivation. Right? I was like, I feel just as motivated as I did the second I lost that match and knew I was not going to get that first place finish. And I'm a big visual goal setter. I have a vision board in my room. So the first thing I do when I wake up, when that alarm goes off to go run in the morning, is I see my goals. And definitely at the top of it is getting that state championship ring. So,
how about finishing third as a freshman? Did that surprise you?
That's definitely probably one of my most fond moments in my wrestling career. I'll never forget. I was down like 10 points. And my coach, he looked over at me and he said, I can't remember the exact words, of course, because it was in the moment, but he said something along the lines of, you know how hard you've worked. And he knew, I drill against the guys on my team. Setting up the time to work today was hard because I have a hour and a half long women's practice, and then I stay for 2.5 hours after that to drill and stay for the men's practice every day. So I get almost a 4-hour practice in every day. Jeez. And he looked at me and said, you know how hard you worked. And that just put a burn in me. And I was able to actually secure a pin, and that's how I won that match. So that was the first time I had won, and I remember crying after that match. And I won, and I knew that I had the heart and the mental strength to overcome any match or any difficult situation. And so I use a lot of moments like that for when maybe I'm like, man, I don't feel like this practice. And it just motivates me. But yeah, I'm on that road right now to get that state championship spot.
She did not graduate. I don't think, Natalie.
She's actually at a different weight class this year.
Okay, no. I was gonna say if you were looking forward to wrestling.
I love good, healthy rivalries. Absolutely. Like that. I had one my sophomore year. Haley Misplay. She's now at Greensboro College Wrestling, and she actually gave me a slight knee injury, and I had to wrestle with a brace my entire freshman year. And she had beat me 3 or 4 times, but I ended up beating her. And we still keep that. There's a little bit of sting in that relationship, but we're such good friends and opponents. And that rivalry, it's so healthy. And it's the same thing with Natalie Titus. You could say the same for Faith Bain. There's so many girls that, the sport, y'all have to stick together. And a lot of us, we see each other at camps across the state, and we've been on national teams together. And so, sure, when that whistle blows and if we're on the match together, I'm going to be trying to beat you up, and I'm going to be looking for the pin. But outside of it, I have the most respect for them, and that competitiveness and that slight healthy rivalry really helps motivate and uplift in the sport.
How did you lose to Titus?
We've been on back and forth. We lost all sorts.
The state champ at the state championship.
Oh, I never got to wrestle her.
Oh,
it came down. I can't remember the girl's name, but it was
she
so
was the eventual champion, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
it was
okay.
so close.
That was a decision.
Yeah, we were on opposite ends of the bracket.
Oh, okay.
So I lost in semifinals.
I was wondering if you just got caught or something.
I did. So the how I lost in the semifinals was I got caught running a move, and it cost me some back points, and that put me behind. Okay. But it would have been an awesome finals match.
It would have been awesome.
And then, Kaylum, you have big success year one. You qualify for the state tournament. How surprising was that?
Oh my goodness. I wasn't really sure how I was going to do. I went to regionals kind of just hoping for the best. And then we got to one point throughout the tournament. I was like, hey, like, I might actually do really good right here. And I remember my first match I lost. It was all the way to the end of third period, and I swear I was like, I'm not going to let this girl pin me. And she almost got me twice, and she didn't get my shoulders down. And I ended up losing by points. I was down by so much. She had so many back points. But I wasn't even upset about it. I was like, I can still come back. Like, I can get this. And I had to wrestle. My next match was a Consies match. And, like, my coach told me right before this, he was like, I just want you to know, like, no pressure, but if you win this match, you go to states. And I was like, gotcha. And oh my gosh, I think that was my best match I ever wrestled my first year. Like, I was all for it. I didn't technically pin her. I had her in a pin, like, right when the whistle blew for third period, and I was so mad that it wasn't considered a pin. But I remember I walked off the match, and we only had 5 coaches at the time right then. They're all standing there, like, I have a photo of me with my hand in the air, and all 5 of my coaches are in the background, like, smiling, like, high-fiving
awesome.
each other. I walked off the mat, and I just started sobbing. Like, I was so proud of myself. Like, I never expected that to go as well as it did.
Now, was states at the Coliseum?
In Greensboro, I think.
It's not in the Coliseum. This will be the first year that it's actually
Is
in the
it?
place.
There was like
so I want to make a big thing about this. This is the first year that it's equal to the men. We've been put in the greenhouse. We have not been in the Coliseum. We've been in the greenhouse the past 3 years.
That's what it was, yeah.
So this year we're in the Coliseum.
And I have no idea why didn't they? I don't understand why they didn't start it last year.
I don't
know.
know.
It was in place. It got voted on at the winter meeting
Everything
of 2020.
bureaucracy takes forever.
Whatever. Yeah, and I just. But I mean, you talk about that's your first state tournament, and I don't know if wasn't last year the one that got so big that they had to spawn a secondary tournament off of it because the first
that
one
made me
they
so
had
mad.
There was like I think 350 or 400, and then it got to like 500, 600, and then. Last year, I think it was close to 1,000.
So the
girls
number just keeps going up.
Yeah, where it was just
it like doubled. That's what they were talking about.
Yeah, they had no way of handling it without expanding the tournament.
Our state tournament, I was talking with some coaches. Our state tournament was almost bigger. The men have 3A, 2A, 4A. They have it that way. But as far if you just take one division, our state tournament was almost bigger than the men's. So.
Absolutely.
So you win your first match at the state tournament, right?
Oh, at States? No. Yeah. I wrestled the girl who placed second at States my first match.
Okay.
She just beat the heck out of me. And that was so discouraging. I was like, well, I'm going to go 0-2 here, and it's going to be over. And I did all that hard work for nothing, and my coaches are going to be disappointed. But I went to a Consies match, and I won a match.
You won the consolation round.
Yeah, I won my first consolation round. And then, I don't know, eventually I got to wrestle one of my good friends from Laney. And that was the girl that I didn't let pin me at regionals, but she definitely did some work over the week before because, man, she got me that time, and I ended up placing like 7th or something.
So what's the goal this year?
I'm just hoping to place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to come home with a medal.
And Ella, you qualify for state tournament, and you have this crazy injury that cost you a year. What's your goal for your junior season?
I want to do place in regionals and make it to states, and then see what happens.
Okay, good deal.
Will y'all have a conference tournament for the Coastal Plains? Mm-hmm. I know y'all will have a conference tournament with the Coastal, but I have no idea. Will every team? Does every team have a wrestling?
I don't even know if they'll have conference in Coastal.
I don't know. Conference. I know we have a
girls
conference.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They'll have a tournament for them. Yeah, because you've got Swansboro, you've got I think White
Oak has like 2 girls.
Okay, and Richland has a few girls, I think.
Mm-hmm. It'll be like last year. It'll be really small, of course, but we'll have it. I tell a lot of people right now, with it being in the beginning of the growth of the sport, even though we've grown tremendously, and it feels like we've made all this progress, we are still young. Sure. We're still a young sport, and we're still growing, and there's still a lot of work to be done. It is important to have the opportunity. So to have the conference, even if there is only 2 or 3 people in the bracket, just to have it, to set it in place for the future and to show young women that it is established for them. That is what is so important. And I did some work. I went to the school board to help get funding for women's coaching and women's teams across the county. And I told them, it is really important, though our teams across the county, well, except for Croatan, are small. It is so important to
for those
go
20
ahead
kids over there at
and
Croatan.
have the funds and have the dedicated coaching staff, have women's cut singlets, because it sets the foundation for the future. It so that girls can look and say, look at that opportunity for me, and slowly they're gonna fall in love with the sport. Slowly it's gonna grow, and I think one day we're gonna outnumber the men.
Is it nice to primarily wrestle girls now? Was it awkward? Is it awkward wrestling boys? Is it discouraging because one walks out there and he's like a state placer and you're like, well, this isn't going to go well? Is it just so much better not having to wrestle 20 times in a year and 17 of those are against boys?
So the first time I wrestled a guy, I actually got a black eye, and I was like, wow, that really sucks. And I would wrestle them at practice because there was only there wasn't many girls last year, and over the summer I went to a camp, and they farmed me out to a team, so I wrestled in a tournament against guys, and I'm telling you, you just get beat up so quick. I remember I was looking over to this coach from some random team out somewhere in North Carolina, and he was not even paying attention to my match. He didn't even care. I was like, oh, okay. So it was definitely discouraging. Yeah. But I'm so grateful that they opened it up to only girls, because that's a big thing. Girls don't want to wrestle guys.
Sure.
Because they're like, well, I don't want to touch a dude. But the fact that it's they made it it's our thing now. Right. And I think that's really great that they did that for us.
How about Kenley? Are you grateful that those days are pretty much over?
For me, they're not quite over yet. I still drill. I stay for the men's practice every single day at school, and for me it's a bittersweet moment. I have so many memories. It's gonna sound cocky. I have so many memories of making guys cry and winning men's tournaments, and I really have some fond memories of beating men, and so there is that little bit of satisfaction of just destroying a man's masculinity, and then seeing his dad get mad at him because he's crying while walking up the mat. But I will admit, I see that I'm getting a lot less injuries wrestling women. I'm seeing the different. There is, because I'm in a sport where I wrestle women one day and men the next, I see the biological difference between the two, and it is just safer wrestling women, and it proves to me that our bodies are truly not meant to go up against a male, especially when they're a senior, so they're already hit puberty and they're close to adulthood. So this is like a grown man that you're wrestling. For sure. I've definitely had my fair share of blast doubles and stuff in tournaments and matches.
What's the blast double?
It's a terrifying move.
Something right to the gut.
Yeah, right to the gut, up in the air.
Right when you're not expecting it, it knocks the wind out of you. You're like, oh.
And so it is. It really is. It's horrific. And it's great if you're doing it to someone else, but as soon as it's getting put on you, you're like, oh no. But so I definitely love wrestling women because of that. I find it's just more fair. It's just fair.
Yeah.
It's just fair. It's how it should be.
How about
Has that been your experience?
Are you glad those days are over?
Well, I did I got injured wrestling with another girl, so
Either way,
but I would agree with what she was saying. I do get injured a lot less wrestling other girls, and I also, you're put on the same totem pole. There's no biological differences. We got the same amount of estrogen and testosterone going on, so you're just at an equal level and you have the equal advantage. It just comes down to who's the better wrestler.
Does technique play? I feel like when there's two guys wrestling, if one is clearly stronger than the other, they're just going to outmuscle the other person. When you're on a more equal level playing field, does technique play a bigger role in that respect?
Definitely. I find for me, because I wrestle so many guys still, and I've had such a long career wrestling men, half of my matches I can just purely outstrength a female.
Gotcha.
And actually this year I wrestle my coach during practice a lot, and he's from PA, West Virginia, so he is super savvy, and he's just this amazing technician. So a lot of times I'm like, well, if I can hit a shot on him and he's resisting and he's using all his strength, or I'm doing it on one of the guys, then I'll blow through a female. And then you meet, that tougher competition that definitely has maybe a little more experience, more strength.
You got to reach in the bag a little
and
more.
that's when the technical side comes out. But I love technique. I think technique is, you can be 10 times stronger than the person, but if you don't have any technique, then there's a good chance you're going to get beat.
Sure.
Normally we wouldn't talk to girls about their weight, but in this instance we're going to talk to girls about their weight because they're wrestlers. How much weight do you have to cut?
So my first year, I was arresting at 117, and I cut to 114 for preseason, and I cut to 109 at states.
Ooh.
And then this year, I rest at 125, and I wrestle 114 still.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of in the air what I'm going to do for states. Some people want me to go 109. Some people want me to go 114. And my mom's all about me going 120. She's like, don't do it. It's not worth it. I'm like, Mom, I will die. Like.
So what is daily life like as far as just eating habits?
Okay, so...
Like Thanksgiving just hit. Imagine,
I went crazy on Thanksgiving. So I think for me personally, once you start to lose weight, there's a point when I will lose a ton of weight really quickly and I'll feel terrible. And then after that, that'll be my rest weight. I'll be close to that. So that's what happened. I wrestled him. I cut 4 pounds in one day one time, and it was awful. I wrestled real bad in my match, but the next day I woke up and I was still on weight, and I was like, okay, that's great. So now I'm at the point. I had a burrito last night for dinner, and I'm still only 7 ounces or 7/10 over. So I find cutting really easy. Especially my my outside activities outside of wrestling. I work out and all that. So I never found it really hard. It's just you lose a lot of energy. It's tolling mentally, but not so much physically for me.
How about you, Kenley? What are you cutting?
Actually, this year I'm not cutting too much.
Okay.
It's it's pretty close difference. I wrestle at 152, and my goal is to always enter practice. So if I have to run a little bit to get a couple pounds off before practice or whatever, enter practice at 154. By the end of practice, I'm walking out. I usually lose about 3 pounds of practice. I'm walking out underweight. So. And then that gives me room to rehydrate, eat some dinner, refuel my body. And I have a pretty incredibly strict diet. For me, I have this isn't talked about a lot, but hey, if I want to be a voice for maybe those that don't get hurt, I have some pretty tough IBS stuff. So certain foods just really will shut down my entire system. And so I've just really found an amazing diet that works for me. And I think that that's really important for people to find a diet. Dieting can be maybe what somebody would say toxic or whatever. Yeah. For me, I find one that is a great balance of foods that I enjoy, but my body also appreciates what I put into it. I definitely have cut way too much. I remember my sophomore year, I decided to cut all the way down to 132 for states, and that cut was really harsh. I did not look good at I definitely did not look good at 132. You could physically see that it was not healthy. And so recovering from that cut was really hard, physically to recover from it, and mentally. And so since then I've been a little bit more an advocate about, choose a healthy decision for you. Choose a healthy diet for you. I love nutrition, and I love science behind it. I'm a bit of a nerd. And so for me, I actually enjoy weighing out my food and knowing this much food gives me this much energy. And some people don't like that. I find satisfaction out of it. Yeah. And so I really don't have I think I do pretty good on cutting weight, but I think a lot of it is people do it improperly, or people's bodies react differently to different foods, and then they put food into it that just shouldn't be in their body.
How about you, Ella? What are you cutting?
Well, my freshman year I wrestled 165, and I made it down to 152, then now I'm wrestling 138, and then hypothetically getting down to 132. We'll see what happens.
What is daily life like doing that?
I probably should be more smart about it, but I like to eat. It's probably why I haven't cut down to 132 yet. I am gluten free because that hurts my tummy. And I do have some restrictions because that just is not good. It does not do good things to me. But, sometimes, like Thanksgiving, I went all out. The next day I wasn't feeling too good. But Thanksgiving, Christmas.
Just a few seconds left. Stereotypes about wrestlers. What's true and what's not true?
Okay.
Each person, like 5 seconds each person.
Everyone comes up to me and they're like, man, you got an eating disorder. And I swear, I'm like, you just have no self-control. Like, it's not a disorder. It's not my fault that some people can't go throughout the day without having tons of sugars and all that. And I have done like the whole scales and like cuts like that, but that's my biggest accusation.
What's the stereotypes, wrestlers, true and false?
For me, it's that I don't like girly things.
Okay.
Excuse me, if you look at my bedroom, it's completely pink. I have mermaids up on my wall, and I love my mermaids. I love shopping. I love makeup. Pink is my favorite color. I love sparkles. Yeah, that's not true at all.
All right, Ella, stereotypes, true and false.
We're pretty dumb. Okay. I don't think the women are, but my coach asks on a daily basis how many wrestlers it takes to change a light bulb, and the answer is 15. Like we were trying to put in mats, and it was like watching kindergartners trying to learn how to write for the first time.
Oh wow, that's a great note to go. Hold on. Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.